Chapter 1 begins with a definition of economics. We'll think about the factors of production, land, labor, and capital. We'll talk about the distinction between macro and microeconomics, as well as the distinction between positive and normative economic analysis. The first thing we should point out when we're defining economics is that economics is a social science. We're thinking about tendencies and relationships among people. It's not an exact science like chemistry or physics. We try to use scientific methods, however. Economics can be best described as the study of how people make decisions about the use of society's scarce resources. We should note that there always is going to be scarcity and uncertainty. But people generally act in purposeful and predictable ways when they make decisions. Scarce only refers to the limited nature of our resources. Some resources are more scarce than others. Some resources are plentiful, but they are not without bound, like water. Some are very rare, and therefore draw a higher price, like diamonds. When we talk about resources, we group them into three main categories: land, labor, and capital. Land refers to all naturally occurring resources, such as the earth, the dirt under our feet, as well as trees and lakes and rivers, and even things underneath the ground, like marble, granite, oil. Labor is likewise straightforward. It's people doing work. The third factor of production is capital. Capital in everyday language usually refers to financial capital, like money. In this context, we're not talking about money at all. In economics, capital refers to tools that are used in the production process. For instance, a carpenter may use a nail gun to assemble the frame for a house. The nail gun is a capital good. A factory may use a welding machine to weld the parts of cars together, and that welding machine is capital. In education, we use computers to produce educational services. Those computers would be referred to as capital goods. As we proceed through our study of economics, our first section will be an overview of economic terminology and how economists think. The second section will be about microeconomics. Notice the prefix there, micro. Micro means small, and it refers to individual decision-making units. We'll discuss the behavior of individual firms and individual households making decisions in individual markets. How do firms decide how many donuts to produce on a given day? How do households make the decision of how many donuts to buy? These are microeconomic questions. Macroeconomics refers to the economy as a whole. So we think about the United States economy, and its well-being is measured by something like GDP growth, gross domestic product. The unemployment rate or inflation rates are all topics that are studied in macroeconomics, which will be the third section of our course. One of the terms that economists use is ceteris paribus. The ceteris paribus assumption literally means all else equal. When there are many things going on at the same time, we'd like to isolate the effect of one single thing, such as the effect of income on consumption. Think about how income is changing. Imagine that the prices of everything that we buy stay the same. So if my income increases, ceteris paribus, how do I react? In this case, we're holding everything else equal and thinking about how consumption responds only to changes in income. How does consumption depend on prices of goods? We know that the price of things like gasoline fluctuate a lot. How does our consumption of gasoline change when the price of gasoline changes? We think about the price of that one thing changing when all other prices of all the other goods that we purchase and our income remain constant. This is imposing the Cedar Asparagus assumption. Some other things that we need to be aware of as we proceed with our study of economics is an idea of statistical correlation, association versus causation. We can often establish mathematically, statistically, a correlation between two things, but we have to be careful to note that that doesn't necessarily mean that event A causes event B, only that they often happen together. For instance, one famous study looked at how the stock market reacted after the Super Bowl game. The study found that if the NFC wins the Super Bowl, the result is overall gains in the stock market. These two things are associated. Event A, and the NFC team wins the Super Bowl, and event B, there are increases in the stock market. These things happen together. They are associated, they are correlated positively, but that doesn't mean that event A causes event B. There is no mechanism by which we can explain that an NFC team's win would be better for the stock market than the AFC teams winning the Super Bowl. Dependent and independent variables. The stock market, however we measure it, is probably more likely a function of interest rates, how interest rates are changing, how income and consumption are changing. In this model, the level of the stock market would be the dependent variable, and it would depend on all these other factors: income, consumption, interest rates, expectations of investors. All these things would be independent variables. That is, the level of the price market depends on the level of those other variables. Finally, we should point out that there are two types of economic analysis: positive and normative economic analysis. Positive economic analysis refers to what is. These are hard facts, whereas normative economic analysis involves some kind of value judgment. For instance, we may say that the unemployment rate in the economy today is 8.5%. This is a fact. That's a positive economic statement. The unemployment rate is 8.5%. Saying that the unemployment rate is too high or unacceptably high is a normative statement. It includes a value judgment. We can say straightforwardly that positive versus normative is just like fact versus opinion. I'll try my best to present things as facts, factual information, so that you can be informed and make decisions on your own. That is, form your own value judgments. Now that we're done with Chapter 1, you should go to the homework quiz section and complete the quiz for Chapter 1. Thank you.